The Coinbase IPO is absolutely going to be one for the record books, and this is something that I've been meaning to do a deep dive on for a while. Maybe I procrastinated a little bit because there's like a 300-page prospectus document that I've been meaning to read through that I finally read through today. But a bombshell was recently just dropped that announced first quarter 2021 estimated results of net profit that just blows the entire last year out of the water. Just insane levels of profit and revenue on this company that is set to IPO in a very short period under the ticker symbol COIN on the 14th of April, so very soon. So we're going to cover everything you need to know about this IPO. I read through most of their prospectus and I have some highlighted points that I want to point out, and then we're going to do a kind of cash flow profit P/E model. That way you have a better idea as to what would be an okay price to hop in at, what's a very bullish price, what's a not so bullish price to hop in at, because we don't know exactly what's going to happen on IPO day, and everyone's kind of sitting back just like, I'm not sure what to do. So this will give you a better idea as to what to expect on IPO day and maybe some price points that you could jump in at depending on your level of optimism for this company. So let's just go ahead and start with the prospectus first. This thing is pretty dry. It's 310 pages long. It's an absolute just monster of a form, but there's just about 10 pages that I wanted to highlight quickly here. First one is page 23. So on this page, I just really wanted to point out this fact that they said you can expect volatility in our financials given the price cycles of the cryptocurrency industry. This doesn't faze us because we've always taken a long-term perspective on our crypto adoption. We may earn a profit when revenues are high and we may lose money when revenues are low. Now, I just wanted to highlight this, that an investment in Coinbase seems like it's going to have to be a long-term play, mostly because we have no idea what's going to happen in the short term. And they're saying out front, expect volatility if you're looking to be an investor in this. They're saying expect that. Now, if we go to page 29, I wanted to point out a couple highlights here. The growth that they recently saw has come from minimal outbound sales and marketing effort. Since their inception, 90% of their retail users have been through organic sources or word of mouth. I thought that was insane that their advertising spend is so extremely low, especially for what is basically the leader in the industry right now. That is crazy. There's a lot of things that are kind of mind-blowing, like how successful this company actually is. And it's not even really the question of, is this a good company? It's more a question of, what do you think crypto is going to do, and how bullish are you on this company? Because they're doing great things. Also here, for the year ended December 31st, 2020, transaction revenue represented over 96% of their net revenue. I just wanted to highlight that they make most of their money just in simple transactions, and especially in Bitcoin and Ethereum. There's actually some risk factors that show if the popularity of those two go down, they're going to see a dramatic decrease in revenue because they get so much in sales because of that. They basically get, a small percentage of each and every transaction. I mean, I've personally given Coinbase something like $700 in transaction fees over just the last few months. Moving on from here, they highlight a ton of risk factors here. Honestly, about 100 pages of this document are risk factors, and I wanted to highlight just a few that I thought were worth talking about. Our operating results have and will significantly fluctuate due to the highly volatile nature of crypto. So one thing with Coinbase, if let's say Bitcoin cuts by 50% in the next year, Coinbase will see their revenues and earnings drop dramatically with that. Our net revenue is substantially dependent on the price of crypto assets and the volume of transactions conducted on the platform. So volume decreases just means less transaction revenue for them. Also, if let's say a crypto is at $100 and it goes down to $50, the percent in transactions that they receive is also cut in half because they're getting a percentage of transactions. Also, a majority of our net revenue is derived from transactions in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if the demand goes away for those, then we're seeing some significant issues. The future development and growth of crypto is subject to a variety of factors that are difficult to predict and evaluate. So again, a bet in Coinbase is really a bet that crypto is going to be huge and continue to be bigger and bigger in the future. Also, cyber attacks, which is kind of like the death sentence for a crypto exchange. If there's some kind of major cyber attack on Coinbase, they're going to lose a ton of reputation and a ton of users who will be willing to go somewhere else that hasn't yet had a cyber attack. So that could be a huge cut to the stock price if that happened. And crypto exchanges are notoriously targeted for cyber attacks because there's so much money stored on there. Also, make sure you grab 2 free stocks with Webull with the link down in the description. All you have to do is deposit $100. You don't even have to spend the $100, and you get 2 free stocks, plus they will send me a free stock as a thank you. And now let's go into the financials, and this is where things get really, really impressive. $1.141 billion in sales in 2020, up from $482 million in 2019, a massive increase in last year, which makes total sense with how popular crypto has been. And it gets even crazier from here because the most impressive thing is $322 million in net income in 2020. Up from negative $30 million the year before that. But this net income percentage, I have a little breakdown here. Their net profit margin, 28.24%. I mean, you compare that to any hot stock right now, like most stocks that people even talk about don't even have earnings, or they have such a small amount of earnings that their PDE is like 500 or just something crazy. This is just like spitting out cash, literally like it's his job. It's absolutely, it's insane how much money that this thing is producing. And then beyond this, looking at a few more ratios here, their return on assets is 5.5%, which is pretty good. I look for a return on assets of over 5%. So if they hit that marker, their return on equity is nuts. 33.45%. I really look for this to be above 15 to 20%. So they're nearly doubling what I look for in a healthy company. Their financials are honestly extremely, extremely impressive. And to make things even crazier, they just announced their estimated Q1 results for 2021, and it makes these amazing financials look like absolute peanuts because their total revenue for Q1 of 2021 was approximately $1.8 billion, more than what they did in the entire year of 2020 by a long shot. And then on top of that, their net income in Q1 was estimated between $730 million to $800 million, again, breaking their entire year by more than double on the low end of the estimate. It's just absolutely insane how well their last quarter has done. So we're going to take all this information in just a minute here and then do a projection as to what price makes sense right after we finish this prospectus. But don't worry, I'm going to go back to this because it's absolutely nutty. There's just a few more things that I wanted to highlight. There's one more risk factor here on page 53 that I thought was kind of entertaining. One of the risk factors is the identification of Satoshi Nakamoto is a potential risk factor. The person who started Bitcoin and no one knows who it is, that basically they're saying, if he comes out and he's like, hey, I'm Satoshi, especially if he cashes in a bunch of his Bitcoin, they're saying that's a major risk factor for Coinbase. And then also I wanted to highlight their growth of institutional customers as well. Assets on their platform from institutional investors grew 590% to $44.8 billion in that time period. One more thing I wanted to highlight here before we go into the price projections, and that is they highlight in the prospectus, in this legal document, customers can use their line of credit to access US dollars while maintaining a HODL investment strategy. I just thought that was kind of entertaining that some lawyer wrote this. Okay, on to the projections, because this is what people really care about. What share price is a good share price? What should I buy in? What should I expect for the returns? I spent a long time compiling all this information, so let me just explain it step by step here. So on the top, it's just their 2020 income, $322 million. The 2021 Q1 income, $730 million. So we're taking the low end of the estimate here just for the sake of this calculation. Their shares outstanding, their total shares for the company will be 196 million shares. So this is 2020 earnings and projected PDEs because we don't know actually what share price the company is going to open at on IPO day. So I just wanted to highlight some potential scenarios based on different PDEs and their 2020 earnings. So with a PDE of 40, which is a reasonably cheap PDE, especially with a company with this much hype, we'd be looking at a share price of about $65. I don't think that this is going to happen. We're much more likely to see a share price on the very, very high end of PDE, 215 or more. That would mean a share price of $353 per share. However, this isn't counting Q1 earnings. And this Q1 earnings honestly change everything. Everything has changed after these most recent earnings. So this gives us a better expectation of Q1 earnings. So let me break this down. Their MTUs is monthly transacting users. This is their number one metric, it seems, to determine how well they're doing because they receive most of their money from transaction fees. So we have three different varying levels of MTUs, 4 million, 5.5 million, and 7 million. And I took this directly from their Q1 estimated results. And this is their 2021 possible scenarios. So their high or bullish scenario is 7 million monthly transacting users per month. Their mid is 5.5 million and their low is 4 million. So I'm using their numbers for these calculations for the potential outcomes here. And then I did some calculations and Coinbase on average receives $39.89 per monthly transacting user. So if we take these potential outcomes, multiply that by the profit per month, this gives us total monthly profit projections based on the three scenarios and annual profit projections based on the three scenarios. So we can see on the low end, their 2021 profit could be $1.9 billion on the low end. Of course, something could happen and it could be much lower than that if there was a big hack or something like that. On the high end, we'd be looking at $3.3 billion in profit. And also I want to highlight that there are a ton of other factors as well that could change this, but most of their income, as we read in the prospectus, is from transaction revenue. So this is 96% is from this kind of stuff. So we're just going to try to make this as simple as possible. So we have some P to E scenarios here as well. Anywhere from a price to earnings of 20 to 215. Now, how this chart is kind of set up is in the top left is the least bullish. You're almost most fearful of what the company may do in the next year. And then the bottom right is the most bullish, the most excited. So most people should land somewhere here in the middle. And what I think the price will probably open at is around $400 is the price that they're gonna post for opening, but what it actually is at before someone can buy in could be much, much higher. For me personally, I'd probably hop in anything around $400. I would probably consider that to be a steal around $400. Now, I don't expect the possibility to be able to get anything at $400. I would say anything in this range, the 400 to honestly around $700 is probably going to be a realistic range to buy and receive some relatively good returns. Anything more than that, you're on the extremely, extremely bullish side of the spectrum. This is already bullish because this is factoring in that they're going to have a very good year continuing those Q1 earnings. So this is already bullish. Anything above this, we're getting into extreme optimism. And then down on this end, this is like you think that this company is the best thing since sliced bread, or whatever cliche phrase you want to use. So personally, I would absolutely buy in anything around the $400. This is of course not financial advice. This is I would do these things. And then above that, it becomes less and less likely that I buy in. But we really don't know what's going to happen on IPO day. And that's the biggest issue. I could totally see this thing open at $400 and go to $1,000. And I'd be like, nah, I'm just going to wait this one out and see what happens. I also could see it, opening at $400, going to 500, dropping down, and, just being this unexpected wild thing. We just don't know exactly what's going to happen. But I think that this should give you a better idea as to potential price points that you could hop in at. So I just wanted to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.